Eaten Style by Feritta. Today I'm really excited to be sharing with you my ultimate strawberries and cream chocolate cake recipe. It is super simple, requires no flour and only minutes to make. So let's get started. So I'm going to take my bowl here and I have some milk chocolate. I use milk chocolate in this recipe because the only sweetness in this recipe does actually come from the chocolate. So if you're tempted to use dark chocolate, you might not get as nice a result because you just won't have the sweetness in your cake. So we're just going to break that up really quickly. And then I'm going to pop it into my microwave for 1 minute. And then I'm going to check to see if it's properly melted through. So I'm just taking my chocolate out of the microwave and I'm just going to test. Now you can see here it still looks pretty formed on top, but if I just put my spatula in, you can see that it has essentially melted. And what I usually do is I just use the residual heat in the chocolate just to melt it down. You could pop it in the microwave for another 10 or 15 seconds if you wanted to. So our chocolate is perfectly melted now, and you can see that there aren't any lumps at all in the chocolate now. So the next step is to set that aside for a few minutes and move on to our eggs. So we're going to crack 6 egg whites into this bowl here. So 6 eggs may seem like a lot of eggs to be using, but I think that when you actually taste this cake and realize that you're not adding extra sugar, you're not adding extra carbs, you don't have wheat, that it's okay to indulge a little bit. And I've made this cake honestly like so many times since I've discovered this recipe, and everyone loves it every single time. So I know you guys are going to love it as well. So, and what we're going to do is just really whip these egg whites up really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tip this bowl over to test that the egg whites are whipped properly, and they are. So now what we need to do is take our chocolate mixture that we have here, and we're just going to dump the eggs. Dump doesn't sound very nice, so we're just going to put the eggs into this bowl, and then I'm just going to take a little bit, just a little bit of the egg white and just mix this together. Because I find that if you just try and mix the chocolate and the yolk together without a little bit of egg white, it clumps up, and it does release once you add the egg white into it. But it's just so much easier not to have to deal with that in the first place. So you're going to go ahead and mix this up really, really good. And make sure that it's just one nice even color, that you can't see any visible egg yolk at all. And it will look something like this, just this nice gooey chocolate look. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add more egg white in. But now what we have to do, and this is important, is we have to fold the egg white in, because the cake doesn't have any rising agent in it apart from the egg white. So the egg white will act as the agent that will make your cake rise. Having said that, this is a fairly dense cake. The texture kind of reminds me of like a cheesecake almost when it's cooked. It's thick and it's dense, but it's just a beautiful cake. Another thing about this cake is during the rising process, because of the egg white, which we're folding in, is that it will puff up and then it's going to deflate as it cools, and that is perfectly normal. It will deflate, and that's how it's supposed to be. So don't worry if it starts sinking after you pull it out of the oven, because that's actually correct. So by using a folding action, what we're doing is we're keeping the air in the egg white and keeping the air in the whole cake batter. I'm just going to throw the rest of it in and continue folding it in. Okay, so you can see how simple this cake is to make. With only 2 ingredients, we have a cake, which is just awesome. So continue using this folding action until all the egg white is incorporated into the cake and you can no longer see any little white lumps of egg white. And you can see now that we have a pretty smooth, even texture here. So that is ready to pop into our cake pan. So I'm going to put that aside to 1 second, and I'm going to show you how I line my cake pan. So I'm just going to grab some baking paper, and before I put the baking paper in, I always use a bit of butter and a piece of paper, which helps the baking paper to stick inside the tin without any issues. So I'm going to take a piece of paper from here, I'm just going to keep folding it into halves as many times as I can until I get a nice small size here, like that. And then I'm just going to approximate the center and snip. And I should have a rough circle here. I'm just going to pop that in. You can see that it fits pretty well like that. And then on the sides, I'm just going to tear some extra paper. So we have now lined our tin. What I'm going to do is just add a bit of extra butter in here so that my baking paper sticks properly and the mixture doesn't go behind the baking paper. Alright, so that's basically very simple. Now what we're going to do is pour in our yummy cake batter. And you can see how luxurious and creamy this cake is. And it does taste as good as it looks. So before you put your cake into the oven, you're just going to gently tap it a few times to bring the air bubbles up to the surface. And then we're just going to pop it into the oven. So this is what your cake's going to look like when it comes out of the oven, and you're going to allow it to cool completely before you add the strawberries and cream, and it will settle down quite a bit. So as I told you before, it does shrink down, and that's good. We want that shrinkage in there because that gives us a little bit of a reservoir for us to put our topping on top. So it's a really moist cake, and all you have to do now is add some lovely, delicious thickened cream on top. It's really so fast. I mean, this is like the perfect dessert. And then all I'm going to do is sprinkle some delicious chopped strawberries on top. I find that the strawberries cut the heaviness. It actually makes it a little lighter as you're eating it. And then a little bit of fresh mint. And that's basically it, guys. You can see it's a really simple, easy to make recipe. So easy, so fresh. And I'm just going to have a quick little taste now because I can't wait. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look how moist that cake is in there. Alright guys, I'm going to enjoy this and I'll see you again really soon.